One. Hey, everybody, you are watching and listening to the We Are RIZIN podcast. This is your host, Andrew Benjamin. I'm joined by my guest, my co-host, Jay Christian Gary from Focus Fights, who can take a better slap than Chris Rock. Jay Christian Gary.
Hey, y'all, what's going on? You almost kind of butchered your own intro there, Andrew.
I know, hangover Tuesdays, Wednesdays, sorry.
Understood. Point of the matter is, we got a guest that y'all are more used to hearing from at this point, but hey, we figured we would much rather talk to him again because, well, March is over, madness is done, and we are about ready to head into the Ides of April, so to speak. And when it comes down to RIZIN, we have RIZIN Trigger the 3rd and RIZIN 35 coming up on April 16th and 17th. This man, originally from Des Moines, Iowa, USA, now fighting out at Setagaya, Tokyo, Japan, who was 2-0, will be making his third trip into the realm of mixed martial arts, mind you. Who you're facing? I'm sorry. Mr. Bogdanove, can you hear us?
Yeah, you cut out for a little bit, but I got you.
Okay. But still, though, this man will be facing off at RIZIN Trigger the 3rd on April 16th against...
The guy goes by the name of Takeshi Izumi.
Of course. And that card will hopefully be streamed to the international audience on Live Now. Please welcome our guest. Our guest that we talked to before, but we are glad to have him again, Grant Bogdanove. How are you doing?
That's my fiance's name.
My apologies.
Sorry.
I'm glad to see you got engaged, by the way.
Yeah. My middle name's Yuki, but it's good to be back. Good to see you guys, hear you guys' voices again. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Now, when it comes down to this fight, obviously, we were talking a little bit about this before the show started. You're going to be facing a guy making his MMA debut when you're going into this fight looking for win number 3. But when it comes down to you're going to be facing, you're saying that he's a high-level Japanese amateur wrestler, and you just don't know how hard he's going to bring it. Do you feel that this is the most important fight of your career so far?
Yeah, it is definitely the most important fight in that it's the biggest fight. There's the most riding on it. And it'll probably also be the hardest fight of my career. This guy is an elite athlete. How well he will transition into MMA, nobody knows, but we're going to find out on April 16th.
I see. Andrew, you got anything to ask?
Andrew, are you muted?
Now I'm back. I'm back. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so now that you got this fight on short notice, so how you had your art match earlier last month, and when did you get the offer for this fight, and did you have any were you like, okay, this fight's on short notice, do I want to take it, or did you I'm gonna take it, regardless of it being on short notice?
It was 2 weeks ago on Tuesday that I got the phone call. I thought about it for about 3 hours and then I accepted it.
Gotcha. I'm curious to know as well. Is this gonna be another catch weight match? Is this Grant weight? Like that 160 whatever pound.
That they have in Eagle FC over there with Khabib. The 165. No, so it's gonna be 72 kilos. I don't know what that is in pounds. What is that, bet like $160 or something?
160. 72 kilos is 160 pounds.
Yeah, so it'll be at 160, 72 kilos on the dot. Last time it was 73, so a little bit less, but no problem.
Mm. Is this a way to slowly ease into eventually going to the lightweight, which I know you did one time, and we're not a fan of doing that cut.
Yeah, actually, I haven't really cut down to 71 before. That 71 is the RIZIN lightweight. It's a little bit heavier than 155 pounds, but it's just a nice 71.0.
Okay.
And yes, I think, if this fight was offered maybe like 6 weeks in advance, it would have been contracted at 71. But because I'm assuming both of us were contacted such late notice, they gave us an extra kilo.
Gotcha. And so yeah, so Izumi, yeah, like you said, he's a wrestler, training MMA for about 2 years, but like, I don't know. So like, how do you feel about so far the 3 opponents that you've had? I think the first guy you fought on Deep was also making his debut, right? Because he got switched late notice, right?
He had fought amateur a few times. He did come in as a late notice replacement. I think he's as a pro, like he was 0-1 or something.
Then you had the Okuda match, which was
he was also 0 and in MMA like 0-3 or something. I think.
Yeah. And so now yeah, you get somebody who's making a debut. I'm curious to know, after this fight, you win this fight, do you want to get somebody who's just like, I don't know, more seasoned? Is that something you want to challenge yourself with?
We'll see how this one goes, right? Obviously, I haven't been tested in there yet, have never gone past the first round. So we'll see. Obviously down the line, that's something I'm interested in. But I wouldn't mind doing like another matchup like jujitsu versus pro wrestling. Now it's jujitsu versus Greco. And maybe next time like feed me a striker or someone, kind of like the old days, right?
I was about to say yes, like Hoist Gracie versus karate guy.
There's hype. We're not really like seasoned fighters, but people still tune in to see that kind of stuff,
And you know what? Come to think of it, that's the thing. You are currently 2-0. You're saying that you're saying that you've never been out of the first 2 rounds in your career so far. The first round, my apologies. But here's the thing though. Are you adequately prepared to go the full 3 rounds if need be?
Only God knows, man, because I've never gone that distance. Obviously, in training, I'm doing 3 times, 4 times that much, but it's a lot different in training than it is in a fight, So you can't simulate a fight in the training room. So we'll see. I don't know if this guy's going to be the guy to take me there, but we will see.
Hopefully we will see. Because you just never know when it comes down to these guys or girls making their debuts, just how much of a threat they really are. It's basically like trying to pick a side in a war. You just don't know how crazy the enemy just might be.
Exactly, right? But that's what makes it fun. That's what's going to make it interesting. Hype it up. It's going to be an explosion.
Now, Andrew, you got a couple of questions you want to ask about this man's recent jiu-jitsu bout. I know you were probably in depth to it because you are a jiu-jitsu guy yourself. You got anything you want to ask?
Oh, well, yes. So for those that didn't see, Grant got a win at Art with a knee bar that I think you transitioned while on mount. Is that correct?
It was from the saddle lock, and then I came up to sit on the guy's stomach. So it was kind of like maybe saddle to reverse mount to knee bar type of thing. Yeah.
Gotcha. So was this your first win in the art? I think it was in the art sphere, right?
This was my first fight in art and also my first win. Yes.
Yeah. So how did it feel, getting that submission win and just being able to put your bread and butter jiu-jitsu like on display for a lot of people?
Man, it's awesome winning, in a nice show like that. The feeling's great. Yeah, you stay happy for like a number of days afterwards.
And so I like, is it a little bit about art? So like, do you see that this can become kind of like Japan's kind of like flow grappling, or their kind of fight to win? Do you think that that can be one of their a staple kind of like jujitsu show that can hopefully, you know, just become bigger and bigger?
Absolutely, 100%. Like they're planning to take it into other countries here in Asia and then hopefully around the world. Like if Flow Grappling could get in on that and cover that, that would be awesome. It's going in a good direction.
Kind of related to jujitsu, have you been paying attention to ADCC trials?
Yeah, a little bit. I heard that like Nick Rodriguez has a brother who's a beast who like submitted everyone and he's a blue belt. And who else? Yeah, that's the one I heard about. Yeah, lightly.
Josh Cicerono's got the Sulev stretch on somebody. That they're now calling the Cicerone stretch.
Yeah, I saw that on Instagram. That was epic.
Curious to know, right now, the hot move in jujitsu, there always seems to be like a hot move when somebody does it. Ever since I forgot which Rural Tool brother did it, the buggy choke is now the hot move that everybody's doing. What are your thoughts on the buggy choke?
If there's no slams allowed, I think it's an awesome technique. But if there's slams allowed, you're gonna get knocked out if you don't let go when the guy picks you up and slams you on your head.
See, so that's the big thing. ADCC allows slams for some reason. I have no idea why. And so I think actually there was one or two knockouts, I guess you could say, that happened at the trials with one with a buggy choke and one with a triangle choke.
Andrew, maybe the Abu Dhabi Combat Club just loves that type of violence.
Yeah, but it's a grappling thing. How can you, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me why they allow slams, not to mention they're incredibly dangerous as well.
You know, it's also in judo though, that if you are like putting on a submission on someone from bottom and they lift you up past their knees, the match is immediately stopped.
Yeah.
And I think it simulates kind of more of a realistic fight situation, which jujitsu and grappling often gets a bad rap for, right? Like your worm guard wouldn't work on the street. So if you have slams, when you're triangling someone, hook the leg so they can't pick you up with your arm, right? I think I like the slams, actually. I think it keeps people honest with their submissions.
Oh, wow. I'm surprised that, have you ever been slammed in a jiu-jitsu match?
If I had been slammed, I might change my opinion.
Okay.
I've never been slammed.
Okay, good. Just making sure. Just making sure. But actually, you know, it's not funny you bring up slams. So, like in MMA, slams are allowed. In your 2 MMA matches, I know that you haven't, you weren't in a position to be slammed. But I'm like, have you trained? Do you train also to prevent slams? You know, like you said, hooking the leg or like some other methods. Is that something that you're also cognizant of in your matches?
Man, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, to prevent slams. I capitalize when some guy tries to slam, and know when to bail on something and transition to something else. You know, don't keep the triangle. Maybe just break the arm instead, or hook the leg, whatever. Yeah, of course, I'm training for that. The guy's a Greco-Roman wrestler. I've heard he has incredible physical strength. Like he's either going to throw me or slam me at some point during the fight. So I'm ready for that.
So another question I have is, so jiu-jitsu guys tend to really hate wrestlers, especially, I don't know if you ever had a match against somebody who was like a wrestler in a jiu-jitsu match, but sometimes they can be very frustrating because they don't know jiu-jitsu, but they know how to take you down and know how to lay down on you. So has that ever happened to you in a jiu-jitsu match?
I'm a wrestler. I wrestled for 5 years in
Iowa.
Iowa.
Yes, I forgot that. Yes.
Yeah, and I neutralized wrestling with judo. I'm a judo black belt. So I'm not the kind of guy who would be stifled by a wrestler or an MMA fighter in a jiu-jitsu match. Like I take wrestlers down in jiu-jitsu matches. So no problem.
My apologies. I wasn't insulting wrestlers in general. I was just saying that sometimes that can be an issue in jiu-jitsu matches.
Yeah. And like, I see that, and like I see guys get, you know, they don't know what to do when someone just holds and stalls, right? That's a huge deficiency in jiu-jitsu. If you can only go if you can only implement your game when the person is like standing up, if you don't know how to fight someone who fights off of their knees, like it's really not good. So yeah, that's obviously something to work on. It's a good point you bring up as well.
Especially because also, with the rule sets between, like RIZIN rule sets, and Unify rules, it's also the kind of frustrating as well from MMA perspective as well, because you could be losing while your opponent's doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes that can happen, sometimes it doesn't happen. It all depends on what the judges are feeling as well. So that's also, it's another interesting aspect as well. Regarding your opponent as well, I'm also curious to so you always make prediction for how you're going to finish a fight. Do you have any prediction for this fight? How you're going to finish, or if you'll finish even?
I don't see any other outcome except me finishing. However, this time, I have some tactics and game plan going on, so I will not give a prediction. I do not want to give away my game plan or my tactics, but
you don't need to. You don't need to,
will
because
not go the
if your opponent basically hears this and wonder why are three gaijins talking about him and wondering your game plan, he's going to exploit it, even if it is his first fight.
So yeah, what I will tell you guys though, expect a submission again. That's all.
Exactly.
I also want to ask, oh shit, hold on, I just lost my question list, sorry. So yeah, with this fight, you get the win. Do you plan any call outs, or do you even, is there anybody who you're potentially interested in fighting next? I know you mentioned Takumi Suzuki last time. That fight didn't happen now. Is that something you're still interested in?
Yeah, maybe. Takeshi?
Yes, Kohei Takeshi.
That Lowe guy?
Yes.
Yeah, I want him.
Are you sure? Kohei Takeshi is a bit crazy.
Yes.
I want to stand and bang.
Are you okay? Oh, okay. Because he's a guy who's, listen, you have to kill him to beat him. He's that type of guy. So would we get stand and bang Grant Bogdanove, and that type of fight?
Yeah, guys, like I have power. I'm not a striker by any means, but I'm physically strong and long. I have freakishly long arms. And yeah, that guy, like, he's not going to try to take me down or anything. And I think he's kind of slow, maybe easy to hit. So yeah, I would love to fight that guy.
Okay, interesting.
Now, come to think of it, there are two other fights taking place at 157 pounds. I know that you talked about potentially wanting to go down to 71 kilos, which is 157 pounds, or maybe, go up to that mythical unicorn known as the RIZIN welterweight division and fight at 170.
Yeah, no, screw 170. No way. I train with some 70 pounders, and there's no way I would ever want to fight those guys.
Understood. But what I'm basically saying is there are two other fights at 157 pounds on this RIZIN Trigger third card. Let's just say, for example, if Tatsuya Saika beats Kimihiro Ito, or Luis Killer Gustavo beats Yusuke Yachi again, let's just say you call out one of those fighters. Would you basically not back down from either of them?
Why would you call out anyone except the champ, though?
But that's a good point. I mean, you called out the champ after your first fight with RIZIN?
Yeah, man.
I mean, I don't really think it would be a good idea now, but if you keep growing your name, Roberto Satoshi de Souza is going to have to take notice.
He already has, man.
Oh yeah, boy, remember the Confessions video? They did put you in the highlights. with
Yeah.
potential, like they were doing, like I guess after Satoshi beat I think it was Yachi, they were just doing like, oh, 150, talking about 155 or that thing, and yeah, they put your name on, they put your you on there, so you're definitely in the you're in the sphere, of that potentially happening.
All I gotta say is every fighter who was so happy to be on the trigger card and just filled with gratitude for RIZIN and the organization. And then when they got their chance on the mic, they said, "Thank you, RIZIN. Thank you, everyone, for the support. Please continue supporting me." And then left. Nobody remembers them.
Mhm.
They were not on confessions. You get on the mic, call out the champ. Like, come on, that mic isn't there for you to just like thank your supporters. It's there for you to build your career, your next step, right? So that's
actually, I want to ask about that, Grant, and probably you can give some insight into that. And whenever I watch a RIZIN press conferences, post fights, things, whatever. Listen, my Japanese is like third grade level, but the one thing I can always hear is, so and so, my name is so and so. Thank you for supporting me. I will do my best. That is literally almost 90% of what fighters say.
They always say their name, what
Yep.
gym they're from.
Oh yeah,
and
that's
thank
it.
you for the support.
Yes.
And I'm like, yeah, I love my gym. Shout out to my gym, but it's about building up yourself, right? So why would you shift attention away from yourself to your gym? I get that, respect your gym, but like, yeah, and is the introduction really necessary? You're already sitting up on the stage. Everyone knows your name. Come on, don't act like it's like they're assuming nobody knows them. You should assume everyone knows you and take that kind of attitude, right?
Yeah. No, it's so like, what do you know why that's done so many times? Why there's so few exceptions? Is that just a Japanese cultural thing?
It must be like a cultural thing. It just like everyone does it. So I should like, walk on the left side of the escalator type of thing. I don't know.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Actually, I also want to ask. So on the same trigger, trigger the second, we had Hikaru Yoshino making his RIZIN debut and also coming out with a win. Were you in his corner as well? I think you were, right?
I was, yes. One of my great training partners, friends, and students. Absolute savage. I'm honestly so impressed by his opponent for being able to survive the storm that Yoshino put on him. Props to that guy.
That arm bar, especially, right? That arm bar, like, should have broken his arm.
He came close to TKOing the guy in like the first minute. Americana armbar. He dropped him and stomped him on the face, pounded him out in the last round. Like, it was brutal.
And so yeah, like with that win, yeah, like what just give us your thoughts on just like Endo making, I'm sorry, not Endo, that's opponent, Yoshino making his RIZIN debut, and just like, yeah, assess his performance as a coach.
It was flawless, save for the fact that he couldn't, eke out the finish. But that I attribute to the toughness of his opponent. And big things to come. Very proud of him and very excited for the future, whether it be a future in RIZIN or a future abroad. Stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned on this guy.
And actually, speaking of abroad, now that it looks like RIZIN is going to start bringing in fighters from overseas, actually quite a lot, especially for the RIZIN 35 show. So is that something that you are also considering, potentially as a next opponent, that somebody you can face somebody who was maybe in the UFC or maybe was in Bellator or is in Bellator? Is that something also that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I'm really excited that they're bringing in foreigners again. Like they got Johnny Case up in here and Luis Gustavo and these big names and stuff from abroad. It's like the MMA scene as a whole over here in Japan, it's been lacking that, like we need that kind of diversity, and it's going to be awesome. I can't wait for the 16th and the 17th.
It's kind of like Yuta Uda, I think, basically bashing the flyweight division before losing to Tatsuki Tawamoto via decision last time out. Basically saying the flyweight division is boring. There's no domestic stars here. I mean, now with the international restrictions lifted in Japan, and obviously most of these divisions relying on foreign talent like yourself, even though you're living in Japan, studying in Japan, learning the language way more than I or Andrew would ever learn. I mean, basically, you have obviously an opportunity to make your division shine, which would be by default 157, 155, without seeing, foreign talent come in and trying to make it their own,
True, very true. But you know what? It's an international sport. It's the only Chael Sonnen said it best. It's the only sport where you could have an American fighting a Brazilian in the United States, and the entire crowd would be cheering for the Brazilian.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's very true.
And I cheered for Anderson.
Both times?
Yeah, both times, man.
Okay.
Love Chael. Huge fan of Chael.
Understood. Or in the case of, UFC, I think 192 it was back in April 2015. It's the only sport where you can have an American and an American and a Japanese fighter fighting in Canada and nobody chants stupid shit.
Yeah.
Which fight was that, Christian? What was that? Which fight was that?
Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson versus Kyoji Horiguchi.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah, that was in Canada.
I totally forgot about. Yeah. Dude, I'm just curious to know as well, Grant. So I always like to say, yeah, like when a fighter fights for the first time in RIZIN, I call it the RIZIN effect. They usually get like a boost in popularity on social media or the gym, whatever. But this is your third fight coming up, and you already have 2 wins. So I'm curious to know, have you seen a boost in your social media popularity, or maybe even more people coming to the gym now after your RIZIN appearances?
No, it's like after I won, that was when I got a large influx of followers. So I'm looking forward to, enjoying that effect again after I win. Obviously, when the fight was announced, I got a few more followers, and people at the gym, people coming through the gym were kind of excited. And yeah, it's been nice. Like RIZIN is the biggest show in Japan.
Eventually though, so far you've been on 2 trigger cards. Eventually you want to get on the number show, I assume, right?
Yeah, I actually thought I was going to be put on the numbered show this time, but yeah, it turned out to be the trigger card.
Well, maybe if you win this fight, you can then do what Tension did a few years ago and say, put me on the show tomorrow, put me on the next show. That's a few days later.
No, Andrew, no.
You know who else is fighting? Kazmat Chimaev. I'll do a Chimaev. When I win on the 16th with no damage or injuries, I'll ask them to put me in on the 17th.
Oh, okay. Yes, you could do what he did. Yes.
It would be cool to see you pull attention now. I'll fight 2 fights in one weekend, but I don't think it can. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm not hating. I'm just stating, I don't think it can be done anymore.
Nothing is impossible.
Fair enough.
In terms of the jiu-jitsu sphere, you said that you got the Asia Open, right? And
All Japan.
All Japan champion. That's MMA, right? Not jiu-jitsu, right? Or is that both?
That's jiu-jitsu in the gi.
Okay. You said that you got some students that are going to be competing. Can you tell us a little about them? And just plug your students.
Yeah, Hikaru Yoshino, our boy from Trigger. He's also getting his feet wet in jiu-jitsu. He's going to be going. Yuya Aoki, he fought on the last KIT. He's a stud. We got Koki Hirasawa. He's one of my students who's also a pro MMA fighter, really training hard in jiu-jitsu, looking to win the featherweight division. We got Shumi Saito. He's a big boy, middleweight. Aspiring MMA fighter as well, but jumping into the gi to get some experience.
Actually, speaking of Aoki, I'm curious to know, did you see the 1X show and happen to see Sexyama versus Shinya Aoki?
Yeah, I watched that. I was really impressed with Akiyama's performance. I thought it was awesome. It's really good.
Did you think that he was done for once Aoki took his back?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, it's not like he got his back taken with 30 seconds left, right? He got his back taken with like 4 minutes left in the round. That facing the cage when someone's on your back, it makes it really hard for the person to finish the choke, actually.
Is it because they can't get their arm around because the cage is kind of like
Exactly. The cage is in the way. It's harder to hand fight and move your arms the way you want to.
curious, is that somebody, if Shinya Aoki ever came to RIZIN, would he be an opponent you'd ever be interested in facing?
Yeah, give me that guy. I would love to beat the crap out of that guy.
Are you sure? Are you sure you want to face off against Tobi-Kan Judan?
Tobi-Kan Judan, bro, I'll punch him in the face, knock him out against the cage. Like, I wouldn't grapple the guy. My strategy wouldn't be to grapple him. It'd be to knock TKO his ass.
So basically, it would be the same strategy as Eddie Alvarez did against him in that second fight.
Hell yeah, man. Eddie's a beast. Huge fan. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't in it. We'd love to see it.
Also, I also curious to know as well, Alma Gym Fight Life. So tell us what you guys are doing there now. Is there any new things that you're doing as a gym or dojo? Anything that you could tell us about the Alma Life?
Yeah, like Alma Fight Gym Life, I'm the leader, I guess you could say. Like, I'm the main guy, but we've really got people who train there that are aspiring to the same goals as me, pro fighters, pro jujitsu, ranging from that to like CEOs or housewives or kids. It's a gym that's really for everyone. We've got obviously like BJJ and MMA, but we're also doing events that range from like handstand workshops to aerial dance workshops. Like, we're spanning the whole spectrum here. So especially with the doors kind of opening up again, visitors coming to Japan from abroad, if anyone's interested to stop by, like, feel free.
Actually, I was looking at some of the classes, and you mentioned what was it, the aerial dance class? You have what was it? There was it's, I don't know if my thing is translated properly, but called mellow stretch or gentle stretch.
Yeah, man, mellow stretch. The normal stretching classes that we have are quite brutal. We're talking like contortion type of style, like picture Cirque du Soleil. So the mellow stretch is more of like for people who maybe they want to recover a little bit after a jujitsu session. It incorporates a little bit more of massage and stuff. So yeah, then you can kind of get your feet wet with that and then go into the normal stretch.
Okay, because and you guys are also offering yoga as well and drill and roll. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff is happening at Alma Gym Fight Life.
Yeah, man, it's getting bigger and bigger. Keep on going.
So having such a mix of students, I'm curious to know as well, because also I'm guessing you teaching when you have people that are obviously you teaching Japanese, but then you probably have some students that probably don't know any Japanese or probably speak very little Japanese. Do you also teach in English to them?
Yeah, of course, man. It's all bilingual, sometimes trilingual. Sprinkle in a little French or some Portuguese, Yeah.
Hey, you got to get them linguistics out somehow.
Exactly, man.
And so I know I think I asked this before the second time we talked, or I guess for your second fight for RIZIN, but just like as a coach, find that balance, because you're competing both in jiu-jitsu and in pro MMA, and you're doing all these teaching grappling, jiu-jitsu beginner level, advanced level, all levels. I'm just curious to know, like, just like, how do you do it? That's like I'm sure there's people who do like they stop one thing to focus on the bigger thing, but you're doing all of them at once. How do you find the mental and physical energy to do it all?
Well, my thing is, to anyone who's considering like striking out on a new goal or something, is you should just do it right now. Don't wait until you lose 5 pounds to start jujitsu, or don't wait until you quit your job to start your side job. Like, just do everything at once, and you'll be surprised at how much time you had wasted previously, like on your phone or drinking alcohol or doing something that, yeah, if you just didn't look at your phone for 3 hours a day or something, you could put that 3 hours into a side hustle or being a pro fighter or raising a family or something. Like, we got 24 hours in a day, and that's so much time to do anything you want to. Yeah.
So basically, let's just give an example. Let's just say if a guy or girl who's probably weighing in at like close to the 300-pound spectrum. Let's just say, obviously, if they want to try and get in shape, wanting to become the next Ronda Rousey or the next Sakuraba, so to speak, I guess the time for them to get in shape and to be a fighter would be right now, huh?
Yeah, it would, man. What are you waiting for? Like, why wait, you know?
The other thing also is the self-defense aspect. And I don't know if you heard about this. It was a big, well, at least a big story in pro wrestling. And I think Chris, you know what story I'm about to talk about. I don't know if you heard about that pro wrestler who intervened in that young girl who was getting harassed by an adult gentleman.
I've heard of the story that you're talking about.
Okay, yeah. Oh yes, yeah. So basically, yeah, some pro wrestler like happened to I think he physically intervened in some young lady who was getting harassed by an adult male. And I'm just curious to know as well, would you also say that jiu-jitsu is also an important aspect from a self-defense standpoint? Kind of like, is it something that you would teach your daughter or your son just so they know in case they have a need to defend themselves?
Nah, because I mean, yeah, if my kids like jujitsu, like I would love for them to do it, but I feel like if you're in some shady situation like that and you try to apply jujitsu, which is like a sport bound by rules, it's limited by rules and circumstances. Jujitsu is one-on-one, right? It's never against multiple opponents. You can't hit them in the nuts, you can't gouge their eyes, you can't bite. Like, if my daughter was being attacked by some dude in a dark alley, I'd want her to like gouge his eyes, bite his throat out, crazy, nasty stuff. So yeah, from a self-defense perspective, it does play a factor. Like, if you know jujitsu, you will be able to defend yourself more. But the biggest thing is probably having the confidence to like walk away from those situations or run away even. Or avoid them, Yeah, confidence is the biggest thing you get from jujitsu.
So yeah, so basically what you're saying is if you're ever in a situation like that, don't try to apply a rubber guard because it will not help.
Yeah.
I'm only bringing it up because we did the rubber guard stuff last week in jiu-jitsu, and I'm always thinking to myself, I'm never gonna need to ever know this. It's kind of like when you learn like stupid stuff in math. I'm never gonna need to know this stuff ever outside this entire situation that I'm in.
Well, actually, rubber guard was developed for MMA by Eddie Bravo.
Which is funny because the MMA fighters don't ever use it.
Because no one has like the skill to do it. You see some guys do. Ben Saunders, that he had a good rubber guard. Yeah, it allows you to not get punched and punch the guy when you're on bottom. So,
and also Togi Ferguson, I think he's done rubber guard.
Yeah,
quite a few
and
times.
Also the submissions that you can get from there, right? It's a good guard for MMA for sure.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I'm curious to know. So, as well, you said that you have some students that are pro MMA fighters. I think you said. I thought the names or are going to be fighting.
Yeah, we've got nobody with fights coming up, but I've got some guys, Shumi Saito, he's young, he's 19. He's probably going to make his amateur debut in May. Guy's a former judo athlete, really. He's a beast. Yeah, Koki Hirasawa. He's looking also to get back into MMA in May, bantamweight. We'll see how things play out there. And also our boy, Hikaru Yoshino. We will see with him as well what the future holds.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So do you offer like MMA classes at the at Alma yet or?
So as part of our gym menu for normal people, we have one MMA class per week, but none of the pros participate in that. That's more for normal, like average people. We do pro training in the afternoons when the gym isn't really in session. There's lots of guys that come in, and like lots of pros. Daichi Abe, who beat Strasser, he came to train with us before his fight. We got lots of pros coming in to train MMA and Jiu Jitsu.
Was that what you're talking about when you were talking about welterweights throwing you around?
Not throwing me around, but just like so hard to keep down.
Okay, gotcha.
If you can take them down, it's so hard to keep them down. And like the energy levels just decrease so much when you're fighting to keep a guy down. So like him, and there's other guys too, but like, yeah, those dreams of welterweight are long gone.
Actually, I'm curious to know as well. I don't know if you saw the from Trigger Second, the same show that Yoshino was on. There was a Kazuma Kuramoto fight.
That guy is a savage. He comes from an awesome camp. They have a really technical coach over there, and that dude is just a straight savage. He's going to be fighting on the 16th as well. Really looking forward to see that fight.
I'm curious. So he did a move, and I've never seen it ever been done before in MMA, but I'm curious to get your thoughts as well. Where he had Kato, his opponent, in side control. He picked him up and then slammed him down. I'm curious to know what you thought of what you think of something what are your thoughts on somebody doing something like that?
He obviously felt at that point that he had the fight in the bag and he didn't need to worry about saving his energy. Seems like a little bit of an energy waster to me, but the way he obviously knew he had it, like usually when you grab someone, you kind of know if they're tough or if you can absolutely thrash them. And he obviously knew that he could thrash the guy. Well, I saw that slam as well. I thought it was awesome.
But yeah, I was just like, I couldn't believe I actually saw that because in the years I've been watching MMA, I have never seen that done. That may have been a first, at least for a major MMA show.
Right. I've never seen that either.
So yeah, Grant, actually, Chris, I want to throw the last set of questions to you if you got any left for our guests.
Oh, well, actually, I only got a few. When it comes down to, obviously, we already talked about your opponent. We already talked about who do you hope to fight next. But obviously, we already asked about what would be your plan B if you were to continue going on. And if you weren't doing this for a living. But if you were, let's just say, if you were basically thinking about, retiring early. Let's face it, you're only 27. You're about a few years closer to us more than anything. But let's just say if you wanted to retire early, continue raising your family and all that, would you ever want to consider any of your family members on either side of the Pacific to take up MMA as a way to, make a living?
Well, the easy answer is that nobody in my family is like in any position to try anything like that. We don't really have, yeah, but I have nothing against MMA, the sport of MMA. I believe that as adults, we're responsible for our own actions and we understand the risks of getting into the cage and we do it anyway. So yeah, it's not like, oh, I do it, but I wouldn't wish it on anyone else. Like, if you want to do it, go out and do it. I have nothing to say about that, you know?
Understood. And when it comes down to obviously other sports, I know before we even began this whole thing before we even began this interview, I was trying to throw a little basketball analogy at you, basically saying that anything could happen in March, or I guess now in April. But when it comes down to the difference between, let's just say, the NCAA basketball tournament that just happened and let's just say a RIZIN event, I mean, would you consider yourself as like a lower seed, trying to be up there with the big boys? Like, would you consider yourself similar to, and I don't know if you watch basketball, I apologize for even asking this, but would you basically consider yourself as a St. Peter's to Roberto Satoshi de Sosa being something like Kentucky?
Yeah,
Again,
like
sorry for
Kentucky
the
Fried Chicken. That guy is like fried chicken. I'm gonna eat him alive.
Good point. It's basically better than my analogy, but hey, good point. I can definitely see that analogy happening. It's just that you would probably need to build your name.
Yeah, that's the plan. We'll see how it goes with the next one. If I can call someone out on the mic after the fight, we'll see.
And who gonna stop you? Nobody. Because you're gonna have the floor all to yourself, whereas everybody else is gonna be sitting on their pins and needles, so to speak.
Yes, sir.
But now that we've reached the end of this podcast, I mean, obviously, I just have to ask this question. Let's just say somebody is getting this over to Takeshi Izumi's camp right now, and they're trying to decipher what we are all talking about because they just hear 3 gaijins speaking English. 2 of them who actually been to Japan before, 1 who just dreams of going to Japan one day. But still, let's just say if they're getting this over to Izumi right now and trying to figure out what the hell we're all saying, what would you basically say to Izumi face to face other than good luck, I'll see you on the 16th?
I hope you come ready, because if not, I'm gonna beat you into the living death.
Plain and simple. And that's why when it comes down to
Tito Ortiz. That's Ken Shamrock to Tito Ortiz. He said that.
Right.
Yeah, he kicked the chair.
Yes, I remember that. And I think I've seen the documentary about that. But still, though, Nihonjin, all I gotta say in Japanese is "Konoto ouen shite kudasai." Please support this man because you know damn well he gonna make some shit happen.
Well, actually, Grant, I gotta ask as well. Since you are now a seasoned pro in MMA, you don't have an MMA nickname yet, as far as I know. What MMA nickname do you want people to call you?
Wait a minute. Come to think of it, didn't you already coin yourself as Mystic Grant? Because you predict things?
That's good as well. Maybe they can call me like not the Notorious.
No.
No.
The Notorious was already made by Nick Newell and taken by Conor McGregor.
Yeah, nickname, I let the fans decide that. Let's see what they have to say on Twitter after my performance. maybe someone can come up with something clever, you know.
Or sometimes the Rising Confessions will give a nickname, or the VTRs will.
Yeah.
Or one of the ring announcers.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, sometimes ring announcers do, but sometimes the VTRs will just do like a really weird like nickname. And I've talked to some fighters and they're like, oh, I had no idea they're gonna call me that. And some like them and some don't like them. So hopefully they give you one that you do like, if they give you one.
Yeah, anything is fine.
And yeah, Grant, before you go, want you to plug everything and all the things that you're doing for your social media, Alma Gym. Go ahead, the floor is yours, sir.
Okay, guys, thanks for tuning in. For those who did, this is Grant Bogdanove on Instagram, on Twitter, at Grant Bogdanove. I am the owner and head instructor at Alma Fight Gym Life here in Setagaya, Tokyo. Links from my profile and whatnot. If you're ever in the area, please stop by.
Great.
Tune in April 16th, live on pay-per-view. RIZIN Trigger, the 3rd. You're going to see another submission from Grant Bogdanove.
Yeah. Yeah. And right now, looks like it's gonna be on live now. English commentary, presumably from Joe Farrar and Damian Brown, but who knows who will be, because they've been having so many people on commentary this year alone. But
basically, yeah. It's been like a romper room of commentary.
It really has been. It really has been. But Grant, always appreciate you taking time to talk to us. I always appreciate that you always find time in your busy schedule to talk to us, man. It's really appreciated.
Yeah, likewise, guys. Thank you.
And yeah, looking forward to your fight. And yeah, looking forward to what submission you'll be pulling off in this match. And